Are you happy with how you spend your time? I've recently realized that I'm not. That I wish I was spending my time differently. And so I've resolved to change that. I'm not where I want to be, but I've at least started on the path forward. But one of the things I noticed is, I spend too much time on the phone. I don't think it's beneficial to be scrolling short form content like TikTok or Instagram Reels. That's just not beneficial. It's entirely consumptive. So I started looking at, are my habits entirely consumptive? And I guess at that point you have to break down what counts as a consumptive habit versus a constructive habit. And I think you can get lost in the weeds there, and I don't intend to in this video. But I look at sitting on your phone, just watching TikTok or Instagram Reels or any other form of short form content that's designed for you to just sit there and veg out with is not really beneficial. And sometimes vegging out is useful, right? But only if it's sometimes. If it's every day where you're spending 6 hours on your phone just watching short form content, I don't view that as useful. And if you are spending 6 hours on your phone, I would guess that most of that is going to be consumptive media of some kind or another. It could be Twitter or Instagram or TikTok, any of those. I find I would rather spend my time doing something a bit more constructive, whether that's drawing, reading, writing, any of those. I'm not claiming to be a paragon of those or to have made tons of progress on them, but I do try to write a little bit every day, try to read useful things, and useful is a bit nebulous there. But things that make me think. That's what I mean. Most of the short form content doesn't make you think. It's just there to it's like popcorn, right? It tastes good, but it's not really healthy. And it's not really going to fill you up. It'll fill you up in one sense, but it's not nutritious. Right? It's mostly just air. I try to do things that are a bit more substantial. And so recently I've been reading Xenophon because I've never read it before. In English. I don't read Greek. But that's been pretty interesting. But I don't really want to spend my time doing the same things I've done up till now. I like the hobbies I'm into. I do play Warhammer, build, paint, that sort of thing. I like Lego. I play a card game occasionally. And I play games with friends, like D&D or board games. And those are fun. But of those, they're all solitary hobbies, except for the stuff with friends. So I think the one with friends is fine because it's like going out and having a social hobby, and I think that's pretty good. But some of the other ones are like, okay, well, if I'm sitting at home building Warhammer, that I'm not doing anything that's really constructive, which isn't really a problem. If I didn't also spend a ton of time playing video games and time sitting on my phone. So that's what got me thinking on this was, okay, what do I do that is actually beneficial? How much time do I do on that versus how much time I spend on the more consumptive side of hobbies? All right, so that's where I get are we doing constructive things or consumptive things? And I found, looking at how I spend my time, that I spend far more time on consumptive hobbies than I do on constructive hobbies. And I don't think that's good. And I think if I'm doing that, then it's probable that someone else is also doing that, and that lots of other people are doing that, because I don't think I'm so different from everybody else that my problems are uniquely unique. Problems I find in my own life are going to be shared by lots of other people, which is nice because it means if somebody's found a solution, I can try and adapt that solution to myself. So hopefully if you find yourself in the same boat, my thoughts here will help you. So the consumptive hobbies we've already talked about. It's the scrolling. It's the things that don't make you think. Right? And most online content isn't really designed to make you think. It's just designed to kind of eat your time or fill up your time, however you want to think of it. I look at it more and more as it's eating my time away, and I only have so much versus just filling it up, because filling it up is eating it. And so if I'm going to eat up my time, I want to spend it doing something that I can improve at. It's really hard to improve at watching content, so I don't view that as beneficial. So that leaves us what would be beneficial. I think reading is beneficial, but I also think that there are definitely things that are not beneficial to read. And so you kind of have to draw a fine line there. And I think most books published today are not really beneficial to read, either because they are incorrect. If you're looking more at like modern philosophy or textbooks, and that I think is a whole different video. But I also have seen some of what's popular in terms of novels. I've gone to my local bookstore, Barnes and Noble, and seen what's like being promoted as fiction. And I don't think any of that is beneficial to read. I don't think it's necessarily wrong to read it. I just don't think it's a constructive thing to read. If you want to read that for entertainment, A-okay. But I don't want my day to only be filled with entertainment. I don't want to end up where I will end up after doing that for 20 years, or even 10 years, or even 5 years. I want to end up somewhere else. And to do that, I need to do more constructive hobbies, things that make me work my brain so I don't stagnate. So that means reading more beneficial things. And that doesn't mean don't read for entertainment. It just means also add in some stuff that makes you think, as opposed to it's just like popcorn. You want the steak, not just the sizzle. Or you want the meat, not just the popcorn. So that's why I've been reading Xenophon. Also, I've wanted to read Xenophon for a while. I just never got around to it. It's one of the classics. And so seems like it's a good thing to read. And so it seems like it's a good thing to read. So I've been working on that. I'd like to draw more, which is more of me just starting to do so. I'd like to paint more, and I had been working on that. Wasn't able to for a little while, but we'll be getting right back into that. I try to make sure I get enough exercise every day via lifting and going for walks and some other cardio. Just trying to do things that make my life better and spending my time more beneficially than just consumptive. So I don't have an answer for how to stop watching shorts entirely, because they are fun, right? You can go see fun skits or funny videos. Yes, there's plenty of funny videos or interesting content on those, but I find I don't walk away from it having learned anything. But I did walk away from reading Xenophon. Yeah, I've been reading the Cyropaedia and the Anabasis. I think there was one other one in there, but I don't remember what it was called. In the collection I'm reading, that's how they're laid out, was Anabasis, something else, and then the Cyropaedia. But and that's been interesting. I also have been reading some Alexander Dumas because I've always liked The Count of Monte Cristo, and I enjoy reading that. And I've been reading some of his other works, which I view more as entertainment than like a constructive thing. But they still are interesting. And it's fine to have some entertainment, right? There is a balance there. I just don't want to spend my entire day on entertainment. And I hope, if you're listening to this, that you don't either. And there are other constructive hobbies, like Warhammer involves building things, which is constructive. Lego involves building things, which is constructive. But those things don't really provide you an additional skill that benefits your life. And not everything you do has to do that. Right? I have no problem building like a Lego set, spending a little time doing that. That doesn't bother me, especially because then I turn it into a video. So I guess in that way it's beneficial, but I don't make money from them. So it's not super beneficial. So there is a kind of balance there, but it's perfectly fine to do stuff that's entertainment, or just doing something that doesn't really have a massive benefit to your life. But I don't want to only do those things. The painting for Warhammer, I think, is actually more constructive than it would seem at first, because it teaches you, some painting techniques, and they won't transfer directly one-to-one to, say, canvas, but it becomes a lot easier to transfer mediums from go from a miniature to canvas than it is to just go straight to canvas with no experience. So I think in that sense, it's beneficial. But I want to go out and do more things, so I'm going to begin doing that. But I don't want to spend my life on entertainment. I don't think that's a worthy I don't think that's a worthwhile life. I think there's more to life than just entertainment. And if you let yourself be entertained all the time, you will wind up in a place that is very hard to get out of. And I don't think it's a good place. I think it's kind of stagnant and terrible and not great. So I want to avoid that. So I wish to do things that are more beneficial than that. And part of that is also making these videos. So hopefully I have said something that has benefited you. If you watched this far and enjoy this, subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment below. I put out a video every week at 8 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesdays. So if you subscribe, you'll get another one next week. And I put out a video every Wednesday at 7 p.m. At least I will until probably January, as that's the goal I've set for myself as a beneficial thing to make me spend at least some time every week thinking. So if you enjoy these, give me a subscription or a like, or leave me a comment down below on how you spend your time, and I will see you next week in the next video.